Hey there, friends. Today I'm sharing a story that will touch your heart about a father's desperate choice, a mother's unwavering love, and a daughter caught between two worlds. If this story moves you, please hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's begin. The courtroom erupted as Judge Harrison read the verdict. Guilty on all counts of embezzlement and fraud. Richard Westbrook's knees buckled, his $10,000 suit suddenly feeling like a straitjacket. $200 million gone. His empire, built over 20 years, crumbled in seconds. Daddy, a small voice pierced through the chaos. 7-year-old Emma stood in the gallery, her blue eyes wide with confusion. She clutched her teddy bear, Mr. Buttons, worn soft from years of love. Richard's heart shattered. His wife Margaret had left him years ago, unable to stomach his ruthless business practices. Now Emma was all he had left, and even that was being taken away. 25 years in federal prison. The judge continued, sentencing into weeks. His lawyer grabbed his arm. We'll appeal, Richard. This isn't over. But Richard wasn't listening. He was watching Emma. Seeing her mother's innocence in those trusting eyes, the courtroom spun around him. Reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing, but all he could focus on was his daughter's trembling lip. That night, released on bail, Richard sat in his empty mansion. The FBI had seized most assets, but they left him to weeks of freedom. To weeks before Emma would become a ward of the state. He poured another whiskey, his hands shaking as he considered his options. Prison meant losing Emma forever. She'd grow up in foster care, bouncing between strangers, forgetting she ever had a father who loved her. He made his decision at 3 a.m. By dawn, he'd liquidated his hidden offshore account, the one the FBI hadn't found. $8 million. Transferred through a web of shell companies. By noon, he'd contacted a man who specialized in new identities. By sunset, he and Emma were boarding a private plane to Costa Rica. Where are we going, Daddy? Emma asked, still clutching Mr. Buttons. She'd been told it was a surprise vacation. A special adventure just for them. On an adventure, sweetheart. Richard lied, his hands trembling as he buckled her seatbelt. Just you and me. As the plane lifted off, Richard watched the city lights fade below. Somewhere down there, Rosa Valdez was just finishing her night shift, cleaning the very offices where his empire had fallen. Rosa, who'd always been kind to Emma during her visits to the office. Rosa, who'd once told him, your daughter deserves better than a father in prison, Mr. Westbrook. He laughed it off then. The cleaning lady giving him parenting advice. Now her words haunted him. Was he giving Emma better, or was he stealing her future to save his own soul? Richard closed his eyes, knowing he was destroying lives. The FBI would hunt him. Margaret would wait to find her daughter gone. His employees would lose their jobs as the company collapsed. But the thought of Emma in foster care, bouncing between homes, losing everything she'd ever known. He wouldn't. The plane banked south, carrying a desperate father and an innocent child into the unknown. Behind them, a storm was already brewing. The manhunt would begin at dawn, but by then, Richard Westbrook and his daughter would have vanished like ghosts in the night. In the Westbrook Industries building, Rosa Valdez, night shift supervisor, found Emma's forgotten coloring book in the executive lounge. She held it, gently, pages filled with princesses and rainbows, each one signed love. Emma in careful 7-year-old handwriting, her sister Maria's daughter, her only niece. The child she'd helped raise after Maria married Richard, the child who called her Tia Rosa and ran to her arms every time she visited the office. My sister trusted you, Rosa whispered to the empty room, clutching the coloring book. Maria had died believing Richard was a good man, a loving husband and father. Now he'd stolen Emma away, taking the last piece of Maria that Rosa had left. Rosa tucked the coloring book into her bag, her mind racing. She was just a cleaning supervisor, but she was also Emma's blood, Maria's blood, and she would not let her sister's daughter disappear into the shadows with a criminal. Something stirred in her heart, a determination that would reshape her entire life. She would find Emma, no matter what it took, even if it meant becoming someone Richard Westbrook would never expect a cleaning supervisor to become. Rosa Valdez pushed her cleaning cart through the empty halls of Westbrook Industries. Now under federal management, 3 months had passed since Richard's disappearance, and the building felt like a tomb. FBI agents had finally stopped coming around, but the emptiness remained. You missed a spot. Derek Chen, the court-appointed interim CEO, pointed to an imaginary stain on the marble floor. He enjoyed tormenting the cleaning staff, especially her. He'd been a middle manager before, ignored and overlooked. Now he wielded his tiny kingdom of power like a tyrant. Yes, sir, Rosa muttered. Though the floor gleamed spotlessly, she knelt again, her knees protesting after hours of work. She thought of little Emma, somewhere in the world with that broken man. The child who'd always said please and thank you, who'd drawn pictures for the cleaning staff, who'd made even this cold corporate building feel warmer. That night, Rosa sat in her tiny apartment, staring at the coloring book Emma had left behind. Pictures of princesses and castles, each one signed love. Emma in shaky 7-year-old handwriting. The news said the FBI had no leads. Richard had been too smart, too prepared. He'd vanished completely, taking that innocent child into whatever darkness he'd created. I'm just a cleaning lady, she whispered to herself. What can I do? But the question wouldn't leave her alone. She looked around her sparse apartment. Second-hand furniture, peeling paint, windows that didn't quite close. She'd been invisible her whole life, the woman who came in after everyone left, who cleaned up their messes and disappeared before dawn. But maybe being invisible had taught her things. Maybe it had shown her how to see what others missed. Something ignited in Rosa that night. If the FBI couldn't find Emma, maybe someone who understood desperation could. She enrolled in night school the next week, studying business while cleaning offices. She read every book about Westbrook Industries, understanding how Richard had built it, how he destroyed it. Years passed in a blur of exhaustion and determination. Rosa rose from cleaning supervisor to operations assistant, studying during every break. From assistant to coordinator, learning to navigate corporate politics, she absorbed everything, learned from everyone, outworked them all. When people dismissed her as Maria's sister, the cleaning lady, she let her results speak. You can't be serious. Board member Harrison had scoffed 10 years later when she applied for a management position. You were our cleaning supervisor, and now I have an MBA and the highest performance reviews in the division, Rosa replied calmly, her accent now barely detectable. I've also increased operational efficiency by 40% and saved the company to $1 million through my process improvements. Unless you have concerns about my qualifications, she got the job, then another, and another. Each promotion bringing her closer to resources, to connections, to power. Because Rosa had made a promise to her dead sister, she would find Emma by year 10. She transformed from the woman who supervised the night cleaning crew to a senior executive. When Phoenix Corp rose from Westbrook Industries' ashes 3 years later, Rosa Reyes, she'd taken her grandmother's surname for a fresh start, stood as chief operations officer, and within a year, CEO every night. She updated her search, private investigators in a dozen countries, facial recognition software scanning social media, age progression photos of what Emma might look like now, 14 years old, wherever she was. The coloring book sat in her office safe, a reminder of why she climbed so high. Why do you work so hard? A colleague once asked, watching Rosa pore over reports at midnight. Rosa touched the glass case that held the coloring book. Because my niece deserves to know that someone never stopped looking for her, that her mother's family never gave up. The rusty school bus bounced along the dirt road in rural Guatemala, kicking up clouds of dust that made Emma squint. Emma Westbrook, now Emma Martinez according to her forged documents, gripped her backpack tightly. At 14, she'd grown tall like her father, but had developed a quiet strength all her own. 7 years in this mountain village had changed her. From a pampered city child to someone who could climb trees, tend gardens, and navigate the local market like a native. Mija, you forgot your lunch, Richard called out in Spanish, running after the bus. His designer suits had long given way to faded work clothes. His manicured hands now bore calluses from construction work. The years had aged him more than time alone could account for. Guilt and fear had carved deep lines into his face. Emma leaned out the window, embarrassed but touched. Papa, I'm fine. But he insisted, passing her the paper bag with trembling hands, the same lunch he packed every day, a sandwich, an apple, and a no saying ti amo, Mija. The other kids giggled, but Emma saw the fear in his eyes. The same fear that made him walk her to school until she was 12. The same fear that kept him awake at night, pacing their small house, checking locks and windows dotted school. Emma excelled despite everything. Languages came easily. She spoke fluent Spanish now, along with her native English that Richard insisted they practice at home. "Never forget where you come from," he'd say, though he'd never fully explained where that was. Their past was a locked door he refused to open. Emma Martinez. Her teacher called during attendance. Emma raised her hand, the lie rolling off her tongue like truth. She'd been Emma Martinez longer than she'd been Emma Westbrook now. Sometimes she forgot she'd ever been anyone else, but sometimes, in quiet moments, fragments surfaced. A kind woman's voice saying, "Such a polite girl," the scent of cleaning products mixed with kindness. A coloring book filled with princesses, though she couldn't remember where it had gone. A big building with marble floors where her shoes clicked and echoed. These memories felt like dreams, fading more each year. "Your essay on family heritage is due Monday," the teacher announced. "Interview your parents about your ancestry." Emma's stomach clenched. Another creative writing exercise disguised as homework. Her classmates chattered excitedly about grandparents and family trees. Emma stared at her notebook, already crafting another fiction. She'd become an expert at lying, at filling in blanks with imagination where memory failed. That evening, she found Richard in his workshop, repairing furniture, one of his many odd jobs. The man who'd once commanded boardrooms now fixed broken chairs for neighbors. "Papa, I need to ask about our family history for school." His hands stilled on the sandpaper. She watched his shoulders tense, the familiar closing off. "What do you need to know? Where did our family come from? Before Guatemala?" Richard's face went pale. For a moment, she thought he might tell her the truth. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "Your mother, she was from Texas. She died when you were young. Car accident." "What was her name?" "Margaret," he said, the truth slipping out before he could stop it. Then quickly, "But she went by Maggie. She had blonde hair, like yours. She loved you very much." Emma nodded, writing it down, adding another lie to her collection. She'd learned not to push when his eyes got that haunted look, but that night, unable to sleep, she heard him on his hidden satellite phone, the one he thought she didn't know about. She crept closer to his door, holding her breath. "No, we're safe," he whispered. "But she's asking questions. She's growing up." A pause. "I know what I sacrificed. I know what I took from her. But what choice did I have? They would have put her in foster care. She would have been lost in the system." Another pause. "Don't call again. It's too dangerous." Emma retreated to her narrow bed, mind racing. Who was he talking to? What had he taken from her? And why did the name Margaret feel wrong, like clothes that didn't quite fit? Rosa Reyes stood at the head of the boardroom table, her presentation commanding the attention of every executive. The transformation was complete. From cleaning lady to CEO of Phoenix Corp., the company that had risen from Westbrook Industries' ashes. 7 years of relentless work, of 16-hour days and endless studying, had brought her here. "Our quarterly profits have exceeded projections by 30%, she announced, her accent now barely detectable. "But success means nothing without purpose. Today, I want to discuss our new initiative, the Lost Children Foundation." Board member Harrison, the same man who once scoffed at her, now hung on every word. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. He'd aged poorly, his arrogance replaced by desperation to stay relevant. She'd aged into her power, every year making her stronger. "This seems outside our corporate mandate." Harrison ventured carefully. "What's the ROI on finding missing children?" Rosa's eyes flashed. "The ROI, Mr. Harrison, is measured in lives restored, families reunited. Unless you believe human beings can be reduced to numbers on a spreadsheet." The room fell silent. Everyone knew better than to challenge Rosa Reyes when she spoke with that particular tone. They had seen her dismantle opposition with surgical precision, always polite, always devastating. After the meeting, Rosa retreated to her office, Richard's former office. Though she'd redecorated everything, floor to ceiling windows overlooked the city, but she'd kept one thing, Emma's coloring book, now carefully preserved in a glass case. Next to it sat photos, age progressions of what Emma might look like at 8, 10, 12, 14. "Mom, your 3 o'clock is here," her assistant announced. The private investigator from Mexico. Rosa's heart raced. After 7 years and dozens of false leads, she learned to temper hope with reality. But she never stopped searching. Every paycheck funded more investigators, more technology, more hope. The investigator, Miguel Cortez, entered with a tablet. He was the best in the business, recommended by contacts she cultivated carefully, Ms. Reyes. I believe I've found something significant. Rosa gripped her desk, knuckles white. Show me. A man matching Richard Westbrook's description has been living in rural Guatemala, goes by Roberto Martinez, works construction, keeps to himself. He has a 14-year-old daughter. Miguel swiped through surveillance photos, grainy, distant, but unmistakable. Richard's distinctive walk, his protective hovering over a teenage girl with blonde hair. That's him, Rosa breathed, her composure cracking. Then, studying the girl. Is that? We ran facial recognition against the age progression software. 73% matched to Emma Westbrook. She attends the local school, goes by Emma Martinez. Well-liked, excellent student, but notably isolated. The father is paranoid. Rarely lets her socialize outside school. Rosa's hands trembled. 7 years. 7 years of climbing, fighting, searching, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. It had all led to this. How recent are these photos? 2 weeks ago. They live in a village called San Cristobal. In the mountains. Population under 1,000. He works construction and carpentry. They've been there approximately 6 years. Book me a flight tonight. Miguel hesitated. Ms. Reyes, we should coordinate with authorities. He's still wanted by the FBI. This could be dangerous. No. Rosa's voice cut sharp. If he gets word that anyone's coming, he'll run again. I won't lose her twice. This isn't about justice anymore. Miguel, this is about a little girl who deserves to know the truth. That evening, Rosa stood in her penthouse apartment, packing a simple bag. She picked up the coloring book, running her fingers over Emma's childish signature. I found you, little one, she whispered, just like I promised. Her phone buzzed. Harrison, texting about an urgent merger negotiation. For once, she didn't feel the pull of corporate responsibility. Handle it yourself, she replied. I have more important business. The morning mist clung to the mountains of San Cristobal. As Emma walked to school, her worn backpack bouncing with each step. The village was waking up, roosters crowing, vendors setting up their stalls, children laughing in the streets. This had been her world for 7 years, as familiar as breathing. Emma's brain. Her friend Lucia called, running to catch up. Did you finish the math homework? Of course. Emma smiled, pulling out her notebook. She helped Lucia with the problems as they walked, unaware of the rental car parked across from the school, or the woman inside whose hands shook as she gripped the steering wheel. Rosa had arrived at dawn, her heart pounding with each mile closer to the village. Now, watching Emma laugh with her friend, 7 years of determination crumbled into raw emotion. The little girl who colored princesses had grown into a young woman, tall, graceful, kind, still helping others, still spreading light. That's her, Rosa whispered to herself, tears streaming. That's my Emma. She forced herself to wait, to watch, to plan. Rushing in would only cause chaos. Emma clearly had a life here, friends, routines. Whatever crimes Richard had committed, Emma was innocent. Rosa had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. But now, faced with reality, every plan seemed wrong. Inside the classroom, Emma settled into her seat by the window. Something felt different today, though she couldn't say what. A prickling at the back of her neck, like being watched. She glanced outside, but saw only the usual morning scene. Still, the feeling persisted, a charge in the air, like before a storm. Today we're discussing career aspiration, the teacher announced. What do you want to be when you grow up? Students called out answers, doctor, teacher, engineer. When it was Emma's turn, she hesitated. The real answer surprised even her. I want to help people find their families, she said quietly, like a detective, but for reuniting people. The teacher smiled. That's beautiful, Emma. What inspired that? Emma shrugged, unable to explain the hollow feeling she carried. The sense that something was missing. I just think everyone should know where they come from. Everyone should have the choice to know their whole story. Her classmates moved on, but Emma's words hung in the air. She didn't notice her teacher marking something in her notebook, or the way her friend Lucia studied her with new interests. After school, Emma took her usual path home, but stopped at the market. The vendor, Doa Carmen, chatted warmly as she selected mangoes. The old woman had become like a grandmother to her, filling some of the empty spaces in her life. Your father is lucky to have such a thoughtful daughter, Doa Carmen said, wrapping the fruit carefully. I'm the lucky one. Emma replied automatically, though lately she'd been questioning everything. Why did Papa have no photos from before Guatemala? Why did he sometimes slip and call her different names? Why did he cry in his sleep, apologizing to someone named Margaret? Rosa followed at a distance, her designer clothes swapped for simple local wear. She watched Emma navigate the market with easy familiarity, speaking Spanish like a native. The girl had adapted completely to this life Richard had forced upon her. But Rosa could see the searching in her eyes, the questions behind her smile. As Emma turned down the path to her house, Rosa made a decision. She couldn't confront Richard first. He'd run. She couldn't approach Emma at school, the public. It had to be natural, organic, a chance encounter that wouldn't spook either of them. That evening, Richard noticed Emma was quieter than usual during dinner. The rice and beans sat untouched on her plate as she pushed food around with her fork. "Everything okay, Mija? Papa, do you ever think about before?" His fork stilled. "Before what?" "Before Guatemala. You never talk about it. I don't even know where I was born. The past is past, Emma. We have a good life here." His standard deflection, worn smooth from repetition. "But what about family? Grandparents, cousins? Do I have anyone else?" Richard's chair scraped as he stood abruptly, his face closing off. "You have me. Isn't that enough?" The coffee shop in San Cristobal's small plaza was nearly empty when Emma entered. Seeking refuge from an unexpected afternoon rain, she shook water from her hair, not noticing the woman in the corner who suddenly gripped her coffee cup tighter. The shop smelled of fresh grounds and sweet bread, a comforting contrast to the storm outside. "Terrible weather, isn't it?" Rosa managed, her voice carefully casual as Emma took a nearby table. 7 years of preparation and her heart still threatened to burst from her chest. It came out of nowhere, Emma agreed, wringing out her backpack. Something about the woman seemed familiar, though Emma couldn't place it. "Are you visiting? I haven't seen you around." "Business trip," Rosa replied, her heart hammering. Up close, Emma was even more like the child she remembered, the same kindness in her eyes, the same gentle manner. But there was something else now, a wariness that broke Rosa's heart. "I'm looking at local coffee farms for export." Emma's eyes lit up, the wariness momentarily forgotten. "My friend Lucia's family has a farm. I could introduce you if you'd like. They grow the most amazing beans, fair trade, organic. They really care about their workers." The innocence, the eagerness to help, still the same Emma who'd drawn pictures for strangers. Rosa blinked back tears. "That's very sweet of you, Emma," she supplied, extending her hand. Emma Martinez. The false name hit Rosa like a physical blow, but she kept her composure, shaking the offered hand gently. "I'm Rosa, Rosa Reyes. It's nice to meet you, Emma." They talked as the rain fell, Emma's natural curiosity emerging. Rosa learned about her school, her favorite subjects, science and literature, her dreams of traveling someday. Each word was a gift and a dagger. This was the child she'd searched for, alive, safe, but living a complete lie. "You speak English." "Very well," Rosa noted when Emma unconsciously switched languages mid-sentence. Describing a book she'd read. Emma blushed. "My papa insisted I maintain it. He says it's important to be bilingual, though sometimes I wonder why. It's not like we ever use it here." "Your papa sounds wise. Does your mother agree?" A shadow crossed Emma's face, clouds passing over the sun. "She died when I was young. I don't really remember her. Papa says her name was Margaret, that she had blonde hair like mine." But she trailed off. "But," Rosa prompted gently, "sometimes I dream about someone else, someone with dark hair who smelled like lavender. But that's probably just my imagination." Rosa's nails dug into her palm. Richard had stolen even her memories. Sometimes dreams are memories in disguise. Emma studied her, those intelligent eyes searching. There was something about this woman, something that made her want to tell her everything. "Do you ever feel like your life is a puzzle missing pieces? Like there's this whole part of you that's just blank?" "Yes," Rosa whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I know exactly what that feels like. I've spent 7 years trying to find a missing piece of my own." "Did you find it?" Rosa looked at Emma, this beautiful, kind young woman who'd grown up without knowing she was loved, searched for, wanted. "I think I might have." The rain was stopping, sun breaking through the clouds. Emma glanced at the clearing sky. "I should go. Papa worries if I'm late. He's protective." "Emma, wait." Rosa pulled out a business card, her hands trembling. This was the moment. "I'll be in town for a few days, if you'd like to talk more, or if you need anything." Emma took the card, reading it with growing confusion. "Phoenix Corp., the big American company. You're the CEO." Her eyes widened. "But that used to be Westbrook Industries. I remember." She stopped, fragments of memory surfacing. A big building, marble floors, a woman with kind eyes who cleaned the offices and always had time to look at her drawings. "What do you remember?" Rosa asked softly. "I don't know. Nothing. It's just familiar." Emma pocketed the card carefully, her mind spinning. "Thank you, Ms. Rosa. Maybe I'll see you around." Rosa watched her leave, every instinct screaming to run after her, but she'd planted the seed. Now she had to trust it would grow. That evening, Emma found Richard in his workshop, sanding a table with unusual intensity. Where shavings covered the floor, and she could smell his fierce sweat from the doorway. "Papa, I met someone interesting today." The sanding stopped. "Oh, a businesswoman from America. Rosa Reyes. She runs Phoenix Corp." The sandpaper fell from Richard's nerveless fingers. He knew that name, the cleaning lady who'd always been kind to Emma. But how could she be? His mind raced, calculating distances, probabilities, threats. "She was nice. She gave me her card. Pack your things," he said quietly, not turning around. "Now, what? Papa, what's wrong?" "Don't argue with me, Emma. Pack only essentials. We leave in an hour." "Leave? This is our home. My friends are here. I have a life here. You can't just—" "I can, and I will." Richard's composure shattered. He spun around, and Emma saw naked terror in his eyes. "You don't understand the danger we're in." Emma stepped back, tears streaming. "Then explain it to me. I'm not 7 anymore. I'm 14 years old, and I deserve to know why we're always running." Richard grabbed her shoulders, his own eyes wet. "Please, Mija, please just trust me one more time." But Emma was done trusting blindly. She wrenched away and ran from the workshop, ignoring his desperate calls. The business card burned in her pocket as she made a decision that would shatter everything. Tomorrow, she would find Rosa Reyes. Tomorrow, she would demand the truth she'd been denied for 7 years. Emma ran through the dark streets of San Cristobal, her heart pounding with years of suppressed questions. The business card in her pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Rosa Reyes, Phoenix Corp., Westbrook Industries. The names echoed in her mind, unlocking doors she didn't know existed. She found herself at Lucia's house, banging on the door. Her friend appeared, concerned. "Emma, what's wrong?" "I need to use your computer," Emma gasped. "Please. It's important." Lucia led her to the ancient desktop in the corner. Emma's fingers flew across the keyboard, searching for Rosa Reyes Phoenix Corp. The results loaded slowly on the village's weak internet, but when they appeared, Emma's breath caught. There she was, the woman from the coffee shop, in article after article. From cleaning supervisor to CEO, the remarkable rise of Rosa Reyes. Emma clicked through, her hands trembling. The articles mentioned her 13-year journey, her determination to transform Phoenix Corp from Westbrook Industries' ashes. Then Emma searched Richard Westbrook scandal. The headlines screamed at her: "CEO flees with daughter after guilty verdict." "FBI manhunt continues for Westbrook and missing child." And there, her own face, younger but unmistakable. Emma Westbrook, age 7, believed taken by father. "Oh, my God," Emma whispered. She found another article with more details. Sources confirmed the child's aunt, Rosa Valdez, sister of deceased Maria Valdez Westbrook, has been denied custody. The cleaning supervisor at Westbrook Industries claims Richard Westbrook has abducted her niece. Her aunt. Rosa was her aunt. Suddenly, the woman's familiar presence made sense. "Emma, what is this?" Lucia asked, reading over her shoulder. But Emma was staring at another photo, a family photo from a company newsletter. Maria Valdez Westbrook with her sister Rosa and daughter Emma at a company picnic. Her mother. Her real mother. Not Margaret from Texas. Maria and Rosa. Tia Rosa, right beside them, holding Emma's hand. The memories crashed over her like a wave. Tia Rosa's apartment. The smell of pupusas cooking. Lavender perfume. A voice singing off-key lullabies. Weekend sleepovers when Papa worked late. "I have to go," Emma said, printing the articles with shaking hands. "Emma, wait, where are you going?" But Emma was already running again, the papers clutched to her chest. She had to find Rosa before her father, before Richard, made them disappear. Again, Rosa was in her hotel room, unable to sleep, when the knock came. She opened the door to find Emma, soaked with rain and tears, holding printed pages. "You knew my mother," Emma said without preamble. "You're not just here for coffee farms, you're here for me." Rosa's composure crumbled. "Yes, tell me everything, please. I've been living a lie for 7 years. I deserve the truth." Rosa stepped aside, letting her in. They sat on the small bed, and Rosa began to speak about Maria, her sister, who had fallen in love with her boss, about their wedding, Emma's birth, the joy Maria felt, about the car accident when Emma was 5, not 7, 5, that took Maria away. "I wanted custody," Rosa whispered. "I had papers drawn up, fought in court, but I was just a cleaning supervisor. The court said I couldn't provide for you like your father could. Richard promised to take care of you, to let me visit, and then he stole me." Emma finished, her voice hollow. "He stole me and made me forget her, made me forget you. He was desperate," Rosa said carefully. "He was going to prison. You would have gone to foster care. The judge had already denied my petition. So you became CEO of his company to find me?" Emma's eyes were wide with wonder and pain. "I made a promise to my sister," Rosa said, tears flowing freely. "Maria trusted him with you when he betrayed that trust. I swore I'd find you. It took 13 years, but I never stopped looking." The memory hit Emma like lightning. "Tia Rosa, I remember. You used to sing to me in Spanish when Richard worked late. You taught me to make pupusas. You called me mi cielo." They held each other then. 13 years of separation dissolving in tears. But their reunion was interrupted by another knock, sharp, urgent. "Emma, I know you're in there." Richard's voice, raw with panic. "Please, Mija, let me explain." Emma looked at Rosa, then stood and opened the door. Richard stumbled in, looking every day of his 53 years and more. He saw Rosa and froze. "Hello, Richard," Rosa said quietly. "I told you 13 years ago I'd find her. You can't take her," he said desperately. "She's my daughter. I raised her. I gave up everything for her." "You stole her," Rosa replied. "You stole my sister's child. You broke your promise to let me be in her life." "I saved her," Richard's voice cracked. "Do you know what happens to kids in foster care? Do you know what I saved her from?" Emma stepped between them. "Stop, both of you, stop." She turned to Richard. "Is it true? Everything I read online. Is it true?" Richard's shoulders sagged. "Yes. My name is Emma Westbrook, not Martinez. Yes. My mother was Maria Valdez, and Rosa is my aunt. Yes." Tears streamed down his face. "I'm sorry, Emma. I'm so sorry. But I couldn't lose you. You were all I had left of Maria." The hotel room fell silent except for Richard's ragged breathing. Emma stood between the two adults who'd shaped her life, one who'd raised her in lies, one who'd spent 7 years becoming powerful enough to find her. "I need air," Emma said suddenly, moving toward the door at Emma. "No," Richard reached for her. "Please, you can't." "Can't what?" Emma whirled on him. "Can't leave. Can't make my own choices. I'm 14 years old, and I've never made a real choice in my life. Everything has been your decision, your fear, your guilt. I protected you. You isolated me. You made me live in fear without even knowing what I was afraid of." The words poured out. 7 years of subconscious frustration finally given voice. Every friend I couldn't get close to. Every question I couldn't ask. Every time you packed us up in the middle of the night. I thought it was normal. I thought everyone lived ready to run. Rosa stood quietly, letting Emma's anger have space. She recognized the fury. She'd felt it herself, climbing from poverty to power, fueled by rage at injustice. "Do you know what it's like," Emma continued, tears streaming, "to know something's wrong with your life, but not know what? To feel like half a person? To catch yourself speaking English and not know why it matters? To dream about marble floors and a woman who smells like lavender and wake up thinking you're going crazy?" Richard sank into a chair, looking older than his years. "I did what I thought was best." "For who?" Emma's voice was quiet now, exhausted. "For me, or for you, both." He admitted. "I couldn't. Emma, you have to understand. Your mother, Maria, she died thinking I was a good man. When everything fell apart, when I realized what I'd become, you were my chance at redemption. If I could just be a good father, maybe I could honor her memory by erasing her." Rosa interjected sharply, "By stealing her daughter and pretending she never existed. You don't understand, Richard said. You weren't there. The FBI was seizing everything. My lawyer said foster care was certain. Emma would have been lost in the system, bounced between homes. At least with me, she had stability. Stability built on lies, Rosa countered. Stop, Emma said again. She looked between them. These are broken adults who let their own pain shape her life. I need to think. I just need to think. She walked to the window, staring out at the village that had been her home for 7 years. Children played in the plaza below, their laughter carrying on the night air. Normal children with normal lives and normal truths. What happens now? She asked without turning. If I go with you, Tia Rosa, what happens to him? She couldn't bring herself to say Papa anymore, but couldn't say Richard either. Rosa's voice was gentle. The FBI is still looking for him. He's a wanted fugitive, so he goes to prison, most likely, yes. Emma turned to Richard. For how long? 25 years, he whispered. Maybe less with good behavior. The weight of it settled over the room. Emma was 14. By the time Richard got out, she'd be almost 40, a lifetime. I won't testify against him, Emma said suddenly. Emma, Rosa started. No, he's not evil. He's broken, and he made terrible choices, but he's not evil. He raised me. He loved me, even if it was selfish love. She looked at Richard. But I can't stay with you anymore. I can't live in your fear. Richard nodded, tears flowing freely. I know. I want to know my real family, Emma continued, looking at Rosa. I want to know who Maria Valdez was. I want to see pictures, hear stories, understand where I really come from. But she took a deep breath. But I also want to finish school here. My friends are here. My life, twisted as it is here. Rosa and Richard both started to protest, but Emma held up her hand. I'm not running anymore from either of you. We're going to figure this out like adults, real adults who tell the truth. The authorities, Rosa began. Can wait one more day, Emma said firmly. Tonight, we talk, all of us. You're going to tell me everything, both of you, about my mother, about the scandal, about these 7 years. Everything, and then tomorrow, we decide what happens next. She sat on the bed, crossing her arms, start from the beginning. And this time, no lies. They talked until dawn, the truth spilling out like water through a broken dam. Rosa told Emma about Maria, how she'd come from El Salvador with nothing, how she worked 2 jobs while going to night school, how she'd been so proud when she got the job at Westbrook Industries. She was brilliant, Rosa said, showing Emma photos on her phone she'd saved for years. She could have been anything. But she fell in love with your father. Richard flinched, but didn't interrupt. His part came next. How Maria had softened his edges, made him want to be better. How her death had broken something in him, sent him spiraling into the fraud that destroyed everything. I told myself I was building an empire for you, he said to Emma, but I was just feeding my own greed. Your mother would have been ashamed. Emma absorbed it all, occasionally asking questions, but mostly listening. As the sun rose over San Cristobal, she finally understood the shape of her life, the truth of it, not the fiction. I want to see her grave, she said quietly. It's in Los Angeles, Rosa said, a beautiful spot overlooking the ocean. I visit every month. Will you take me? Of course. Richard stood abruptly. I should go. I need to. To prepare. Prepare for what? Emma asked. He managed a sad smile. To turn myself in. Through my lawyer, the only person I've had contact with. These 7 years. You're right, Mija. No more running. Richard, Rosa started, surprised. No, she's right. Emma deserves a life without looking over her shoulder, without my fear poisoning everything. He cupped Emma's face gently. I'm sorry I stole 13 years from you. I'm sorry I made you forget your mother, your aunt. I'm sorry for all of it. Emma hugged him then, surprising them all. I'm not sorry for all of it, she whispered. You taught me to be strong, to survive, to speak to languages and see the world as bigger than one place. Those aren't bad gifts, even if they came from wrong choices. Richard held her tightly, memorizing the moment. When they separated, he looked at Rosa. Take care of her. She's extraordinary, but you already know that. You've been watching over her from afar all these years. Wait, Emma said, not today. One more day, please. Let me say goodbye, properly, to this life, to who I've been. Richard looked at Rosa, who nodded slowly. One more day, Rosa agreed, but Richard contacts his lawyer today. We do this right. Legal, proper, no more lies. That day passed in a blur. Emma took Rosa through the village, introducing her to Lucia, to Doa Carmen, to the life she'd built. Rosa saw how loved Emma was here, how she bloomed despite everything. At lunch, Emma asked Rosa about her rise to CEO. Rosa told her about the 13 years of night classes, the discrimination, the determination fueled by love and promise. You changed your whole life for me, Emma asked, awed. You and Maria changed my life by existing, Rosa replied. Finding you wasn't just about keeping a promise. It was about family, about not letting Richard erase us from your life. That evening, they had dinner together, all three of them. It was awkward, painful, but somehow necessary. They were reshaping their fractured family into something new, something honest. I'll need therapy, Emma announced over dessert, making them both smile despite everything, lots of it. This is seriously messed up. I'll make sure you have the best, Rosa promised. I've already made the calls, and I want to keep the name Emma, but Emma Valdez Westbrook. Both parts of me. That's beautiful, Richard said softly. As night fell, Emma found herself back at the hotel with Rosa while Richard returned to their small house. One last time. Tomorrow would bring FBI agents and court procedures and a media circus, but tonight, Anne and niece sat together, looking through more photos of Maria. She would be so proud of you, Rosa said, watching Emma trace her mother's face in a wedding photo. Tell me about her laugh, Emma said. I think I remember her laugh. So Rosa told her about Maria's joy, her terrible jokes, her inability to carry a tune, but determination to sing anyway. With each story, Emma felt pieces of herself clicking into place. The puzzle was still incomplete, might always be, but at least now she had the edges, the framework of who she really was. Tia Rosa, Emma said as they prepared for bed. Thank you for not giving up. Rosa hugged her tightly. Never, Mija, never. The FBI arrived at dawn, just as Richard knew they would. He was sitting on the front steps of the small house, a single suitcase beside him, watching the sunrise over the mountains one last time. He didn't run. He didn't resist. He simply stood and placed his hands behind his back. Richard Westbrook, Agent Sarah Chen said, not unkindly, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and kidnapping. She was my daughter, Richard said quietly as they cuffed him. I know that doesn't make it right, but she was my daughter. Emma watched from Rosa's hotel window, tears streaming. Despite everything, seeing him in handcuffs broke her heart. That was still the man who'd taught her to ride a bike on these mountain paths, who'd stayed up all night when she had fever, who loved her imperfectly, but truly. You don't have to watch, Rosa said gently. Yes, I do, Emma replied. No more hiding from hard truths. The media descended on San Cristobal like locusts. Within hours, the quiet village was swarming with reporters. Emma Westbrook found after 7 years. The headlines screamed, cleaning lady turned CEO solves cold case. Emma gave one brief statement. Rosa at her side. I'm safe. I'm a family. Please respect our privacy as we navigate this difficult time. Then they retreated, letting lawyers handle the rest. The next weeks blurred together. Richard's lawyer negotiated his surrender. Emergency custody hearings granted Rosa guardianship. This time, her CEO status and blood relationship made the decision easy. Psychological evaluations declared Emma remarkably resilient, but recommended intensive therapy. Financial assessments revealed Richard had almost nothing left. The years in hiding had drained even his secret accounts. I want to visit him, Emma announced one morning over breakfast in Rosa's Los Angeles penthouse. Rosa paused, coffee cup halfway to her lips. Are you sure? He's facing trial. He could get decades in prison. I need to see him before that happens. So they went to the federal detention center, through security and searches and curious stares. Richard looked smaller in the orange jumpsuit, older, but his eyes lit up when he saw Emma. Hi, Papa, she said, the word feeling strange but necessary. Hi, Mija. His voice cracked. You look good. Happy. I'm getting there. Emma told him about therapy, about starting at a new school, about slowly reclaiming her real identity. I'm learning about Mom, my real mom. Rosa has videos, photos, even some of her journals. Richard's face crumpled. I'm so sorry, Emma. I should never have taken that from you, from Rosa. No, Emma agreed. You shouldn't have. But I forgive you. The word surprised them both. Richard stared at her, tears flowing freely. You? What? I forgive you, Emma repeated. Not for you, for me. Dr. Martinez says holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So I forgive you, but I also have to let you face the consequences. They talked for the full hour about small things and big things. When the guard announced time was up, Emma stood and placed her hand on the glass between them. All right, she promised. And when you get out, if you get out while I'm still young enough to remember this conversation, maybe we can know each other as real people, not as your fiction, but as who we really are. Richard placed his hand against hers, separated by glass. And consequences. I like that. Tell Rosa. Tell her thank you for not giving up, for becoming who she became to find you. As they left, Rosa took Emma's hand. That was incredibly mature. I had to grow up fast. Emma replied, might as well use it for something good. The trial moved quickly. Richard pled guilty to all charges, his lawyer arguing for leniency based on his mental state after Maria's death and his care for Emma during their years in hiding. The judge wasn't entirely unsympathetic. Mr. Westbrook, Judge Patricia Yamamoto said at sentencing, you committed serious crimes. You stole millions of dollars and deprived a child of her rightful family. However, the court recognizes that you were driven by grief and a misguided desire to protect your daughter. You provided for her safety, education, and well-being during your time as a fugitive. Emma held Rosa's hand tightly in the gallery, waiting. Taking all factors into consideration, this court sentences you to 12 years in federal prison, with possibility of parole after 8. Richard sagged with relief. It could have been so much worse. As they led him away, he looked back at Emma one more time. Learn everything. He called out, be everything your mother dreamed. Emma nodded, unable to speak through her tears. Beside her, Rosa whispered, he really did love you, in his broken way. I know, Emma whispered back. That's what makes it so hard. 6 months after the trial, Emma stood in front of Maria Valdez's grave for the first time. The headstone was simple, but elegant, overlooking the Pacific Ocean just as Rosa had described. Beloved mother, sister, dreamer it read, with dates that made Emma's heart ache. Her mother had been only 32 when she died. Hi, Mom, Emma said softly, placing yellow roses on the grave. I'm sorry it took me so long to get here. Rosa stood back, letting Emma have this moment. They came every month now, bringing fresh flowers and new stories. Emma was slowly piecing together the mothers she'd been made to forget. I started at Marlborough School, Emma continued, talking to the stone as if Maria could hear. It's intense, but I'm catching up. Turns out I'm good at science, just like you were. Tia Rosa says I have your stubborn streak too. The therapy was helping. Dr. Martinez, a specialist in trauma and recovered memories, had worked with Emma to reclaim what she could of her early years. Fragments came back, Maria singing off-key. In the car, teaching Emma to make pupusas, reading bedtime stories in Spanish and English. I remember your laugh now, Emma whispered. Really remember it, not just the echo. You snorted when something was really funny. Papa, Richard, he used to love making you snort laugh. The wind picked up, carrying the salt scent of the ocean. Emma pulled her jacket tighter, a designer piece Rosa had bought her. The contrast between her life now and the simple existence in Guatemala sometimes overwhelmed her. Emma, Rosa called gently, the memorial service is starting soon. Today they were unveiling a new wing at the Los Angeles Public Library, the Maria Valdez Westbrook Memorial Reading Room, funded by Rosa and dedicated to adult literacy programs. It was exactly what Maria would have wanted. The ceremony was beautiful. Former co-workers shared memories of Maria's kindness and determination. Adult students from literacy programs spoke about how education had changed their lives. Just as it had changed Maria's, Emma gave a short speech, her voice steady despite her nerves. My mother believed in the power of education to transform lives, she said. She proved it with her own journey from El Salvador to night school to professional success. I may have lost 7 years of knowing her, but I'll spend the rest of my life honoring her legacy. Afterward, at the reception, Emma was approached by a woman she didn't recognize. You look just like her, the woman said in Spanish. I'm Carmen. I worked with your mother at her first job, cleaning offices before she joined Westbrook Industries. Emma spent the next hour listening to Carmen's stories, adding more pieces to the mosaic of her mother's life. Each person who'd known Maria gave Emma another fragment, another angle of understanding. That night, Emma sat in her room at Rose's penthouse, surrounded by photo albums and letters people had shared. On her desk was a letter from Richard, arriving weekly from federal prison. He wrote about his days, the books he was reading, the man he was trying to become. Dear Emma, his latest letter began, I've started teaching literacy classes here. Ironic, I know, given how I stole your mother's story from you, but I think about her every day, about the education she fought for. And I want to honor that. Even here, especially here, Emma picked up her pen to write back. She always did, though some weeks were harder than others. Some days she hated him. Some days she missed the simple life in Guatemala, the father-daughter. Closeness built on lies, but real nonetheless. Dr. Martinez said all of this was normal, part of processing complex trauma. Dear Richard, she wrote, carefully not using Papa in letters anymore. The memorial room opened today. Mom would have loved it. I gave a speech and didn't cry until after. Tia Rosa says I'm getting good at public speaking, that I have CEO potential. I told her I want to be a teacher. She paused, looking out at the Los Angeles skyline. Somewhere out there, other children were living lies, trapped in situations they didn't understand. Other families were fractured by crime and desperation and misguided love. Actually, she continued writing, I think I want to be a social worker. Someone who helps kids in complicated situations. Someone who makes sure no child gets lost in the system, but also that no child gets stolen from it. Dr. Martinez thinks it's a way of processing my experience. I think it's a way of making sure my story means something. She sealed the letter and prepared for bed. Tomorrow she had school, therapy, and dinner with Rose's friend who worked in family services. She was building a new life on the foundation of truth, even when that truth was painful. Good night, Mom, she whispered to Maria's photo on her nightstand. Good night, Tia Rosa, she called down the hall, and quietly, to herself and the father locked away for his crimes, but not erased from her heart. Good night, Papa. 5 years later, Emma Valdez Westbrook stood at the podium of her high school graduation, valedictorian medal hanging around her neck. At 19, she'd overcome more than most people faced in a lifetime. In the audience, Rosa beamed with pride, tears streaming down her face. They made it, against all odds. Through all the pain and therapy and hard work, they made it. Fellow graduates, Emma began, her voice clear and strong. We stand here shaped by our journeys, not our destinations. Some of us took traditional paths. Others, like me, took detours through dark forests of deception and loss. But we're all here now, ready for what comes next. She caught Rosa's eye and smiled. Her aunt, her true parent in every way that mattered now, had given up the CEO position last year, choosing to focus on the Lost Children Foundation full-time. They'd reunited 17 families so far, each case a small victory against the darkness. I spent 7 years living someone else's fiction, Emma continued, but I've spent the last 5 years writing my own truth. We all have that power, to choose truth over comfortable lies, to build authentic lives even when our foundations are shaky. In her pocket was a letter that had arrived that morning. Richard's handwriting, familiar after years of correspondence. My dearest Emma, I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Your mother would be too. I'll be released in 3 years, and I don't expect anything from you then. Just knowing you've thrived despite my failures is enough. Be brilliant. Be truthful. Be everything Maria dreamed and more. Oh, my love, Richard. She'd already written back, telling him about her acceptance to USC School of Social Work, about her internship with the county's Child Protection Services, about the young woman she was becoming. Their relationship would never be traditional, but it was real now, built on truth rather than lies. So here's my challenge to all of us. Emma concluded her speech. Don't run from your complicated stories. Don't bury your difficult truths. Use them. Let them fuel your compassion, your determination, your understanding of others who struggle. Turn your pain into purpose. The crowd erupted in applause. As Emma returned to her seat, she thought about the journey that had brought her here, a CEO father who became a fugitive, a cleaning supervisor and who became a CEO to find her, a little girl lost in lies who found her way to truth. After the ceremony, as families gathered for pictures, Emma stood between Rosa and her best friend Lucia, who'd flown in from Guatemala for the occasion. They'd stayed in touch all these years, their friendship surviving the revelation of Emma's true identity. Remember when you wanted to be a detective who reunites families? Lucia asked, grinning. Guess you're actually doing it. Life's funny. That way, Emma agreed. Sometimes the things we dream about when we're lost are exactly what we're meant to do. When we're found. That evening, at the graduation party Rosa threw, Emma found herself on the balcony overlooking Los Angeles. The city sprawled below, full of hidden stories and secret pains and families waiting to be whole again. Proud of you, Mija. Rosa said, joining her, Maria would be too. None of this would have happened without you, Emma replied. You didn't just find me, Tia. You saved me. And you did it by becoming someone Richard never thought a cleaning supervisor could become. And you became someone stronger than anyone could have imagined. Rosa said, your mother's strength, your father's determination, and your own incredible heart. They stood in comfortable silence and unease, bonded by loss and love and the strange twist of fate. Tomorrow, Emma would start her internship. Next month, she'd begin college. In 3 years, she'd face the choice of whether to see Richard again. But tonight, she was just Emma Valdez Westbrook, 19 years old, survivor of a bizarre childhood, holder of complicated truths. She'd been stolen and found, lost and recovered, broken and rebuilt. Her story would never be simple, but it was hers now. Hey, Tia, Emma said softly, thank you for not giving up on me, for not letting him erase us. Rosa hugged her tightly. Never, Mija. Family doesn't give up. Your mother taught me that. As the party continued inside, Emma looked up at the stars barely visible through LAS lights. Somewhere, her mother's spirit rested peacefully, knowing her daughter was loved, was found, was home, somewhere. Her father counted days in a cell, paying for his crimes while holding on to hope. And here, in this moment, Emma stood between past and future, ready to help other lost children find their way home. The lost daughter had finally come home, not to a place but to a truth. And that truth, complicated as it was, would light her way forward into whatever came next.